I'm Patty Everett with the Alagille Syndrome Alliance, and this is Dr. Lisa Goodson. She's an adjunct professor of nutrition and health at the District of Columbia, no, sorry, the George Washington University, Trinity University, and Marymount University. She's a native Washingtonian, and she enjoys explaining the best options available regarding dietary practices and choices. And she's a licensed nutritionist with the District of Columbia's Department of Health, an active member of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, and a volunteer nutritionist at a nonprofit clinic for the medically uninsured children called Mobile Medical Care.
Exactly.
Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. And we have a nice, large crowd here. I thank you all so much for coming to this breakout session. After talking, I'm not supposed to move, but after talking with Bill about what we're going to discuss today, I'm going to talk a lot of basic information about nutrition, and especially when it comes to nutrition among our children who have Alagille syndrome, and the necessity of incorporating more fat into the diet and more fat-soluble vitamins. Okay, so, and also when it comes to, since we have such a small group here, if you have any questions, please feel free just to, you know, just to say so or just to ask. I like things to be very informal while being informative. Okay. Let's see. Page down. So during this discussion, we're going to talk about the basics of nutrition, the different food groups, the importance of dietary fat in the diet, as well as fat-soluble vitamins, and also where we can find our own nutritionists, because you all will get information here, but if you have any more questions, of course, you're more than welcome to email me, and I have my email on the front page of this, or first slide of the presentation, and also in your own respective cities, you know, in states, you can actually contact your own nutritionist to get more information for you and your family. So what is the purpose of nutrition? And I'm a professor, so I like to ask questions to my peers. Can I have any takers? Purpose of nutrition? I love it. Growth. I love it. Very good. What else? Growth. Health. Energy, food tastes good, right? Exactly. So when it comes to nutrition being applicable to you, your children, and can I ask, are you all parents of children with? Okay, so when I'm talking about, the majority of the presentation is going to be targeted towards children and for children. So when I'm saying us and we can, as parents, we can also benefit from a different diet just like our children. And what I'm going to talk about today, these overall healthy type of dietary choices, we can all benefit from the whole family. So what's going on when it comes to nutrition and Alagille syndrome? This is the only science in here, I promise, but when it comes, I threw this slide in here because I wanted to show you all, or for you all to be aware of this GI tract. And when I'm talking about GI tract, this gastrointestinal tract, it's just the pathway of where food enters to where it leaves. Like that, where it leaves. But especially when it comes to the liver here, we know that food doesn't pass through the liver. It's not part of the GI tract. And the GI tract helps when it comes to adequate and proper digestion of the different foods that we consume. But this liver, and I know you all probably have heard this from your child's physicians, it's what the problem is, right? There's a problem when it comes to the little ducts or little, you know, pathways in the liver when it comes to this production of bile. And bile is very important when it comes to the transportation of fat in the body. So you all know, let's say, just in general, everyday practices, you all know that oil and water don't mix, right? They're just a little bit more science. They have different polarities going on there. So not only do they not mix, if I had a beaker or a glass of water here and I poured some vegetable oil on the top, what happens? What's it going to look like? You separate, and then I see Patty, right? Patty, and also you said separate like this, so the oil is going to kind of rise to the top. It's a lighter type of entity than the water. So if I'm thinking about this and I'm consuming all these foods and I'm looking at this GI tract here, the purpose of, I don't know if you all can see the words here, it's kind of hard for me to see, but see it says small intestines, all the squiggly, right here in the middle of the abdomen here. After the food or the nutrients get consumed, they get absorbed through the walls of the small intestines. And then after they get absorbed, it's all in our bloodstream. All the good nutrients, the vitamins, the calcium, magnesium, vitamin K, all of that is in the bloodstream. In order for us to, reap the benefits of it, it has to be in the bloodstream, then get into the body cells. Now, our blood is something called aqueous. It's hydrophilic or water loving. So go back to that same image of a beaker or a glass of water with fat in it. It doesn't mix, right? But when it comes to the fat in our diet, we need this. All of us need it, regardless if we have Alagille or not. We need fat in the diet for insulation, to transport these fat-soluble vitamins, and for some other mechanisms that I'm going to talk about when it goes on in the body. How in the world is it mixing? How in the world is the fat that I'm consuming mixing with the water or the aqueous blood? It's because of bile that's produced by the liver and is stored in the gallbladder. The bile is helping along with this. Now, when it comes to our children, when they have Alagille, they don't have that bile that's going to help transport the fat in the diet. So that's when a problem that's going to ensue when it comes to keeping weight on the body, when it comes to the absorption of fat. I'm going to talk about certain types of fat in the diet that can actually help when it comes to these types of situations. So basics of nutrition. Have you all seen this before? This choose my plate. Well, let me ask you this. Back in elementary school, you all remember the old school, yeah, exactly, the triangle, the pyramid. And I said old school because that's defunct, it's obsolete. As of I think it was 2012 or 13, the US government, the USDA went away with that. So this is what they have in place of the pyramid. The common threads, it's a different shape though, but when it comes to the different food groups. So we have fruits, grains, vegetables, and protein, and dairy here. A little quick factoid as to why they actually changed the pyramid is because they wanted children to be more aware of the different food groups. Hi, how are you? The different food groups. Do you all think that this is kid friendly?
My daughter has BL-CAT.
Oh,
You know what BL-CAT is?
no, what is that?
She can't break down proteins or fats.
Oh,
And she also had Alagille.
an Alagille, got it. Do you all think this is?
That's more kid friendly than the pyramid.
You think so too? Yeah, I think, yeah. It's bright colors. And also, you all, unfortunately, haven't been blessed with children yet, but I've seen with these children plates, and they're sectioned off when it comes to it looks like that, doesn't it? And also, you can kind of see when it comes to these different food groups, portion control as well. So if this is a little bit more, well, some math here. If this is one circle or one whole 100 here, look at grains, fruits, and vegetables. Those are plant-based foods. The government is saying that they want children, all children, to eat more plant-based foods, more fruits, veggies, and grains. So look, it's about 75% of the circle here. So they're saying that's probably why it's effective. I thought they're going to be children in our little discussion here, so I wanted to talk about this with them, and I had some little, you all could take some home with you, put some little coloring things for the kids, but anyway, we'll skip that. Oops, page down, okay. The 5 food groups, we already talked about that, and then I put this up here as well when it comes to these different classes or categories of foods. They're different from the 5 food groups. Remember the 5 food groups I just had on there a second ago, like grains, fruits, vegetables, protein, right, and dairy. These are not listed here, but these should look familiar, right? Where do we see these? Where do we see these classes or categories of nutrients? Normal, everyday, grocery shopping. Exactly, the food labeling. Thank you so much. The food labeling. I put this up here because they're different. And when it comes to our children, I want to actually focus on these 6, in particular when it comes to the vitamins here. Yeah, this is really quickly, a good rule of thumb. You know, do you all know what these numbers mean when you go to the store? Yeah, and when it comes to what we want to look for, I like this image that I got off of the internet, especially the purple column here, the percent daily value. Percent daily value, in a nutshell, is just when it comes to on a daily basis in 24 hours, it's the percentage of what one has consumed in that particular serving. Okay, so when it comes to this serving, I don't know what this is though, but one serving is 1 cup. In that 1 cup, let's say when it comes to vitamin A. Vitamin A here, you will see that under here. Okay, so it's 4% daily value. Think about a percent, or that circle, or 1 whole 100. You're only getting 4% of vitamin A in a particular serving. So it depends on which nutrient, which is fat or carbohydrates, right? Or the potassium or sodium. It depends on which nutrient you're looking at as to, you know, why am I eating this particular food? For our children, we want to increase intake of vitamin A. For example, vitamin A, it's a fat-soluble vitamin, and I'm going to tell you all why that's important when it comes to overall health. But rule of thumb when it comes to this last column, this purple column, is any nutrient that is 5% or lower is considered low in that particular nutrient. So it doesn't have to be a vitamin. It could be a vitamin, it could be sodium, it could be fat, but 5% or lower is considered low in that nutrient. If we want to increase our intake of vitamin A amongst our children, do you think this would be a good source? No. Why not? Good. Yeah.
Not above 5%.
Excellent.
Like
Very good. Exactly. I'm a professor, so I have to repeat things. I'm sorry. I don't want to be so. So same, or the other side of the coin, any nutrient, when it comes to percent daily value that is 20% or higher, is considered high in that nutrient.
Yeah.
So if that was, let's say 22% vitamin A.
Salt.
Oh, good. Where?
I'm looking at something else.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm glad you made reference to that too. Sodium is another problem too, right? Yeah. When it comes to anybody with Alagille, sodium, it could be a problem. And so we want to stay away from that particular nutrient. It is a mineral. Higher intakes of this particular mineral can, you know, I don't know if phlegm or excess fluid, it could be a problem when it comes to children. Some children have a higher risk of hypertension. Some children have a risk, or people have a risk of, higher risk of heart disease, and sodium is a big no-no when it comes to risk factor. So if you don't, when it comes to all those numbers, they seem to be rather arbitrary, but that last column is very telling. And that's what I tell my patients too in the clinic where I volunteer, is that look at that last column, okay? So variety is important. I love this image here. It's so colorful. I love color. I don't know. It's either, yeah, exactly, right? Oh, 4:30. Oh, good. Oh, good. Okay. Variety here. The majority of the foods in this picture is plant-based. Not saying we need to adapt anything near it, just a total plant-based diet, but I'm harping on plant-based foods because they have these types of minerals and vitamins that will help our children. So some diet-related concerns with Alagille syndrome: difficulty gaining weight. And tell me if you all have experienced this, right? Not absorbing fat-soluble vitamins, situations with bone health. Is this sound familiar? Yeah. Compromised immune system, necessity for a low-sodium diet. What else? Anything else?
Lack of appetite.
Lack of appetite. Okay, that's a good, okay, lack of appetite. Anything else? Just so I can have remember this so we can talk about this. And what else?
Lack of energy.
Lack of energy. And picky eaters. See, this is kind of new to me actually when I got here when it comes to picky eaters and the lack of appetite going here, but we can totally talk about that. A lot of times, just from my own experiences of people that I've worked with, if children and people have difficulties with appetites and eating, a lot of times it might have to do with smell and the olfactory senses. Well, yeah, not Say what? Say it again.
The smell is different.
The smell, yeah, the smell definitely could be different type of thing. And if, regardless of age, children or adults, if their smells are affecting you or don't like the smell of it, stay away from it. Because if a child doesn't like the smell of a food, not only they may not eat it, but also it could cause nauseousness, right, type of thing. So, I mean, we can have different alternative types of foods to consume that don't have the type of smells that will kind of, set our kids off, but they can still have the same type of nutrients in them for overall health. So just, in a nutshell, and just really quickly when it comes to difficulty getting weight, of course we want to increase our caloric intake. And in talking to Bill before, I know how difficult this can be. So let's talk about that. When it comes to not absorbing the fat-soluble vitamins, that's another problem when it comes to the intake of certain types of dietary fats. Especially, have you all heard of these MCTs, these medium chain? Exactly. So we could talk about that when it comes to, no, I love this. No, this is good because we're all together here. We're all in the same boat. So that,
I was talking to a lady.
Yeah.
MCT. Do you know of what foods that are MCT?
Yes, and I'm so gonna talk about that. Good. No, please don't apologize. This is good. Situations with bone. I say situations because have any of you all experienced any problems when it comes to bone formation, brittle bones, bone fractures? It's very much related to when a lack of vitamin D in the diet. So a lot of times we think about bones, we think about calcium, right? Vitamin D is imperative. They work in tandem with calcium. You need vitamin D in order to actually lay calcium down on the bones. Without vitamin D or sufficient quantities of it, you can consume as much calcium as possible. It's really just going to, for any of us, I'm not talking about for our children or any people with Alagille or not, you can consume as much calcium as you want to. It will just be urinated out, and it will not benefit the bones at all. So vitamin D is imperative for that. Compromised immune system. This is another one too when it comes to two different fat-soluble vitamins, vitamin A and vitamin E. Also minerals like selenium. Have any of you all heard of selenium? This mineral, it has a very powerful antioxidant-like property, and we need antioxidants in our body to help fight off any type of, I call them yuckies, right? Any type of, problems, free radicals. Have you heard of free radicals? For children with allergy or people with Alagille, this is also a problem when it comes to being more susceptible to free radical, our bodies being more susceptible to free radical damage. Free radicals, I'll give it to a little bit of background. Just walking outside, the ultraviolet rays can actually propagate. Yeah, it can start free radical propagation. Propagation is a cycle. So it's this vicious cycle when it comes to some outside entity that starts, it could start, some mutation in our DNA, just in a cell type of thing. Now, we have free radicals all throughout our body, but they're exacerbated when it comes to UV rays, when it comes to the pollutants in the air, exhaust from buses and from cars and all these type of things. And even, a high-fat diet or diet that's really high in refined sugars type of thing can actually make this thing even go quicker. And that's what we don't want to happen. It can be stopped, this propagation, this vicious cycle, with antioxidant vitamins like vitamin A and vitamin E. That can boost immunity or immune system for all of us. In necessity for low sodium diet, Bill made reference to this to me about this low sodium diet. I'm not sure if any of your kids are on a low sodium diet, but we could all benefit from that, because especially when it comes to us as Americans, we just eat too much sodium. But we can substitute flavor for, I call them pungent flavored veggies, like herbs like, chives and that type of thing when it comes to our food. And citrus juices like lemon juice and lime juice when you squeeze on the food. So, but we need fat in the diet so that we can benefit from these fat-soluble vitamins. And without enough fat in the diet, the vitamins cannot be absorbed. But it's the types of fat that I want to talk about today. It's not all fats are created equally, right? Exactly.
You have good fats and you have
Good
the
fat.
bad fats.
Give me some examples, if you don't mind.
Any kind of like your vegetables that have the fats in it.
Good.
It's good fats, and there's also good protein.
Very good. Good.
But like my daughter, the bad protein for her would be meat.
What type of meat? Like you red meat.
Yeah.
Right. So we have animal-based sources and plant-based sources when it comes to fat. Very good. Same thing when it comes to protein.
Yeah. 'Cause I was worried about giving her some fruits and vegetables because it would say fats or proteins because she had the VLCAT. But the lady, our nutrition, told me those are healthy for her.
The healthy types of dietary fats. Exactly. Healthy types of dietary fats. Very good. So I put in, I'm sorry I didn't finish up, medium chain triglycerides, the MCTs. I'm talking about they're literally, you have some fats that are long in length, some are short, and these are medium. These types of fats are unsaturated fatty acids. So these are the good fats, and these are actually filled from plant-based sources. Olive oil is a really good source of these MCTs, and it's good fat, okay? For us, coconut oil is another one, and palm oil. I don't know if a lot of different nationalities in different cultures actually use this palm oil. Red palm oil is one, or palm kernel oil. These are also medium-chained fatty acids that are can be easier absorbed with people with Alagille syndrome. So I put this in here just when it comes to if we want to supplement in the diet. So supplements are, like the pills and yeah.
She takes liquid juice.
Yes, okay, good.
It's a high
MCT. And it's
to make her fatter.
yeah, and that's necessary. It's not only when it comes to adding weight, because when it comes to the different nutrients, fat has the most calories per gram. So for every 1 gram of carbohydrates, there's 4 calories. For every 1 gram of protein, there's 4 calories. For every 1 gram of fat, there's actually 9 calories. It's more than double. So that's why fat is very important to increase the caloric intake, to gain that weight, and also necessary for the transportation of those types of vitamins that's going to help with immunity and bone health. Here's some other examples too when it comes to the formulas. You can make reference to that as well. And then when it comes to these other healthy diet, so I don't know if children consume these foods here, but just so we can all be aware, I was talking to Rebecca, I forget, about chia seeds. Have you all heard about these chia seeds? You heard about them? You can't do They do take, they're good for you, but it takes an acquired taste, right? Exactly. Exactly. So it's the same type of, you've heard of chia pet. So it's the same seeds here, but they are very high in omega-3 fatty acids, very high in protein, a very good source, excellent source of fiber. Omega-3 is also a salmon. I put in here, I don't know if you all had the seaweed. These dried seaweed, that's another good source, and sardines and walnuts. I want you all to be aware of omega-3 fatty acids because these are, they call it essential acids. They are essential because they cannot be made in the body. In order for us to get them, we have to get them from external dietary sources. There's no way we can create them, but they're so crazy good for us, for all of us. There are a lot of studies and research that show that they significantly decrease inflammation in the body. They could also significantly decrease risk of this free radical, that propagation I was talking about. This imperative also when it comes to children with Alagille, because we need that to help boost up the immunity and the immune system. So I have some tips for the moms and dads out here in my vast audience. This is interesting if you want to try this. You've heard of flax seeds, but flaxseed oil, yeah, you said what?
I do. I have.
You do the oil too?
Not the oil. I just do the seeds.
Yeah, the seeds are really good. Exactly. So they're really good for you. I purposely say the oil because sometimes when it comes to kids, like how old are your children? Or
And he's 15
15. Oh, it's baby. Oh, I'm sorry I didn't tell this. I was like, I thought we had like, 10-year-olds or whatever, but sorry, but okay.
Infant and toddler.
Yeah. Right. So flaxseed oil is really good. You can get the same benefits from the seed, but instead of all the crunchy and sometimes you totally have to grind them to flax seeds. You can get the same benefits when it comes to the oil. You find them in the refrigerated section in the store. For kids that need to increase fat in the diet as well as for calories, it's tasteless and it's relatively odorless. And if you pour that onto your food, I say sweet and or savory, because in the morning, like for my breakfast, I have oatmeal. I actually eat these things called oat groats. And then I pour the flaxseed oil on top of it. You get all the benefits, type of thing. Good. So that's a really good example. Vitamin A, more specifically, it's an antioxidant. So we talked about antioxidants, very, very important when it comes to increasing or boosting up the immunity. You can get vitamin A for plant and animal sources. Plant sources is actually, it's called beta carotene. Have you all heard of this before? So you all know that beta carotene is crazy good for you, right? It's actually not a vitamin or a nutrient, a vitamin or a mineral. It's not actually a nutrient. It's something called a phytochemical. Phyto means plant, so chemicals in plants. It's actually the pigment. So when it comes to the dark green colored and dark orange colored vegetables like sweet potatoes and carrots and kale, broccoli and spinach, it's that beta carotene is giving it that bright color. And so when we consume foods that are high in beta carotene, they get converted into an active form of vitamin A in the body. So you can't lose when it comes to that. Already have that. So vitamin A from animal-based sources, milk, eggs, liver. I don't know what kid's gonna eat liver, but just so you have the information here. And I say be aware of the animal-based sources when it comes to trying to up the intake of fat in these fat-soluble vitamins in the diet, is because just like how you were making reference to before, Elizabeth, about the different types of dietary fats. Yeah. So we don't want to, okay, I need to have more fat in my kid's diet and then give a lot of saturated fatty acids and trans fatty acids. We don't want that to be, let me just say this, when it comes to the nutrient composition of saturated fatty acids and the healthier unsaturated ones from plants, it's the same difference. The only problem is that when it comes to saturated fatty acids, with a little bit of organic chemistry, they're shaped differently. And when they're shaped differently, they can accumulate in an unhealthy way in the body. I'm talking about when it comes to the lining in the walls of our arteries. So that's what we don't want. We can still increase the you said what?
I'm saying it right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly. I love this. Yeah, good. Exactly. Yeah, so that's what we don't want to be increasing. So when it comes to these types of foods, we still need to be aware of the types of dietary fats in the diet, but don't go overboard, especially with the undesired or unfavorable types of dietary fats. The ones that really taste good, like the ones that on bacon and the outside of pork chops and the marbled steak and everything. Rule of thumb, just for us as adults, if you can see the fat, it's called visible fat. If you can see it, think about what it's going to do in your arteries. It's not going to change its shape and its coagulation like once you consume it. So if it's visible fat, it's saturated fatty acids. If it's saturated fatty acids, it can do a number on your arteries. So tips for parents, for those of us when the babies get a little bit older, we want to include, you can include something sweet into the diet. I have here, let's say for example, when it comes to sweet potatoes. So sweet potato, it's coming from a plant, is really deep, dark orange in color, so therefore it's really rich in beta carotene. And remember I told you all before, beta carotene is this pigment that gets converted into an active form of vitamin A in the body. Really strong antioxidant. So I think this is really fun, when it comes to, for all of us, even for you all, when it comes to having these types of French fries in the diet. I have here when it comes to the kids, even to entice them more if they want something sweet, a dipping sauce with honey and coconut oil. So coconut oil, again, this medium chained triglyceride. So that's going to help when it comes to easier or better absorption of the fat in the body. And honey I have here as well. It's caloric dense. So you know, for a little bit you have a lot of calories in there. It's really sweet. And also it has some vitamins and minerals in there that act as antioxidants. So you're doing good when it comes to that. Oops. Come on. Okay. Oops. Did I do? Okay, good. Vitamin D. Vitamin D is impaired, like I stated before, it's imperative for proper bone health. There are a number of nutrients, I'm talking about vitamins and minerals that are really good for proper bone health. Vitamin D is imperative. Remember I told you all when it comes to laying down the calcium on the bones for dense bones, for strong bones. Minerals such as calcium and magnesium is another one, and phosphorus are also imperative for a healthy bone health. So best sources of vitamin D. A little clue hint here. Yeah. the sun. I don't know if you all are aware of the fact that this particular vitamin is called the sunshine vitamin. It's called the sunshine vitamin because exactly. I love it. It's called the sunshine vitamin because you've heard me make reference to this ultraviolet rays. So we need to kind of be aware of the UV rays, but the good thing about the UV rays coming from the sun is that it actively makes vitamin D in our bodies. So I'm gonna pull my sweater sleeves up. I'm gonna show you all when it comes to the extremities of your arms and your legs. When it comes to exposure for about 15 minutes or so, your body actually converts this cholesterol under our skin here, this subcutaneous fat. It actually converts cholesterol into an active form called vitamin D3 in our body. We don't have to do anything. I don't need to eat my salmon if I don't want to, or take my supplements. We could get it in the sun. And the children, I don't know if you're all not old enough, the children, but when they get a little bit older, that's a really good thing when it comes to going outside and playing, which I don't think kids do anymore because they have the video games, everything. That's a good thing. And exactly, right? Exactly. So vitamin D, the sun is an excellent source, of course in moderation, because, you know, when it comes to prolonged exposure to ultraviolet rays, you know, it can also increase risk for skin cancer, right? Okay. I know. So I was hoping the kids would be in here like, yeah. Ice cream and other animal-based, like dairy, liver, milk, eggs, fatty fish like you know, salmon, tuna, sardines, mackerel, these types of fish that have that kind of smell to it. It's that smell. It's the good stuff. Those really smelly type of fish are fatty fish. They live in cold water. They have a lot of fat on their little bodies to keep insulated in the cold water. So we're benefiting when we consume these types of fatty fish. Fortified foods. We've seen this word before, right? Fortified. You've seen it? I'm going to tell you, or tell me any examples that you've seen in the store when it comes to something that says fortified. And it's different from enriched. Say what? Maybe you've seen, yeah. Very good, excellent. Cereal, very good. Cereal is fortified. So we have, and then we've seen some breads and rice and pastas that say enriched. A lot of times we use these terms interchangeably. They are different. Just for your own personal knowledge, when it comes to something that's enriched, like the breads and, well, it means this. It means that they're actually, these products are coming from the ground. They're growing from the earth. And when it comes to getting minerals, good minerals in our body, and vitamins too, they get absorbed from the ground, from the dirt, from the earth. So when we consume, let's say something that's wheat, like bread, wheat bread or a pasta type of thing, when it gets manufactured or processed, it becomes stripped. it's become stripped of its color. You know, a lot of the flours are white and pasta's white, bread is white. Stripped of its color is also stripped of a lot of these essential nutrients. Essential means I cannot make them in my body. I have to get them from external dietary sources for overall health. So when it comes to these enriched like breads and these flours, the manufacturers, after this been stripped down to the, like almost bare nothing, the manufacturers go ahead and put those nutrients that were already in that original, you know, plant back into the food. So we benefit from something that's enriched. Another rule of thumb, please don't rinse your rice, or, you know, when sometimes people rinse rice before they boil it, big no-no, because you're rinsing away a lot of those nutrients that the manufacturers are adding back into the food. Fortified, a little bit different. We've seen fortified cereals, right? Have you seen, sometimes when it comes to orange juice, it says fortified with vitamin D. Yeah. What that means is that, well, first of all, oranges are naturally high in which vitamin? C, very good. They're not high in vitamin D. It's not high in vitamin D at all. So manufacturers actually putting a nutrient that's not naturally occurring in that particular, you know, fruit or vegetable or food into the food. So that's what fortified means. So, you know, you might even see some milk that says fortified with calcium. I'm like, wow, that's weird. Milk naturally has calcium in it, but it only has about 20% daily value of calcium in one serving. So if you see fortified milk, you might turn over the nutrition fact label, and it might say 35% daily value of calcium in that one serving. They increased the amount of, very good. They added the calcium into that just to, I guess, make it a better nutrient dense product. So fortified foods that are, you know, foods that are fortified with vitamin D are also really good sources of this particular vitamin. So tips for moms and dads, look for the ice creams or any types of foods with a percent daily value that's 20% or higher, right? Foods that say they're fortified with vitamin D are really, you know, good and your best bet. When it comes to, you know, when your children can eat, you know, I guess, you know, whole foods or whatever, the vitamin D capsules are really good, but sometimes kids don't want to swallow a lot of things, and it's hard for anybody to swallow pills and that type of thing. So those liquid vitamin D capsules, just pierce it maybe with a pen and just squeeze that vitamin E on the food, and, you know, it's tasteless, it's odorless, and that type of thing. Vitamin D is also an important antioxidant. Again, helping to increase immunity and immune function. It also improves blood flow, which is really good. Best sources come from plants and plant oils. Any other examples? Think about a plant oil that you might use or might be aware of. Any examples? Olive oil, safflower oil, canola oil, corn oil. What other types of oils come from vegetables? Coconut oil, thank you so much, very good, excellent. The palm oil, very good. So vitamin E is necessary for, you know, for the antioxidant function, and you can get them from those plant-based sources. So tips for parents, or for you personally, to increase vitamin E in the diet, if you're going to make salads or any other type of savory dishes, you can make your own salad dressing. Do you all make your own salad dressing? Yeah, good. Yeah, a lot of people go to the store and buy their ranch and Thousand Island, and personally, when it comes to me as a nutritionist, I'm like, if you can't see through it, don't eat it. If it's opaque, I'm like, there's something, yeah, it tastes yummy, but there's something in there you can't see through. But, you know, if you have the kids help, or if, you know, you personally, the olive oil is an excellent source. It's called a monounsaturated fatty acid. It's really good for heart health and for anti-inflammatory properties. Olive oil, and also it's a really good MCT. Mixed with vinegar, you know, for flavor, a little bit of honey for sweetness, some chopped herbs, and then, you know, mix it up, have your own salad dressing. You can have a very good source of vitamin E. Vitamin K, it's very, very, we don't hear too much about vitamin K, but it's very important for bone health. And we think about, again, bones, calcium, vitamin D, but when it comes to vitamin K, it's imperative for strong bones. Best sources are in the body in dark green veggies, along with these other sources here. We have the dried or fresh herbs are really good sources of vitamin K. This is actually soybean oil, crazy high in vitamin K. Cashews are another good source. Blueberries and these types of cruciferous vegetables. Have you all heard this term cruciferous? Let me throw something out here to you all and see if we can kind of get a common thread going on here. Any common threads with broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage? Will you cook them? What'd you say?
They're very gassy.
Okay, and they're a little smelly too when you cook them, right? Cruciferous vegetables, this is another like trend in nutrition in general. These are called cruciferous. First of all, you hear the word, what word do you hear in the word cruciferous? Yeah, crucify, cross, right? These vegetables actually grow in the shape of a plus sign or a cross in the ground. So that's where they get these words cruciferous. There are a lot of healthy properties when it comes to these. I actually did my master's thesis on cruciferous vegetables and breast cancer in women. They have components in them called isothiocyanates, which are the kind of smelly components that actually, when you put these phytochemicals in a petri dish with cancer cells, they actually kill the cancer cells. And this is in vitro, meaning that it wasn't in the body in vivo, but even though it was in the lab, that's very promising. So anyway, we're not talking about cancer, but when it comes to other types of healthy components and antioxidant-like properties, these cruciferous vegetables, it's where it's at. Vitamin K is also made in the body. When it comes to nutrients being made in the body, this is very important as well. If you could kind of remember from that slide that I showed you all before the GI tract, you remember that, the GI tract? And we have the small intestines. After the small intestines, we have the large intestines, also known as the colon. And the colon is where, yes, we hold eliminated food or will be eliminated food. There's also a lot of bacteria in that colon, in the large intestines. That bacteria actually creates vitamin K in our bodies. So that's a really good thing too. So you all have heard of like these probiotics, and when it comes to yogurt and these active cultures, keep doing it and consume that, and it's good for the kids and for you as well. They actually help to promote the growth of these type of bacteria that make vitamin K and also make some other type of B vitamins. So that's a really, really good thing. But when it comes to dietary sources, these are some good sources. Dark green vegetables in general are really excellent sources of vitamin K. And sometimes it's very hard for children to consume dark green vegetables. So some tips I have when it comes to children of age to actually go with the parents grocery shopping. A lot of times we know about buy-in. When you have somebody that kind of has a little bit of a stake in what if you have a stake in dinner, not the steak meat, but if they have a part in what dinner will be, the menu, I think that is better, listen to this, is more opportunity for the children to eat if they participate in buying the food and preparing the food. You all agree? Maybe? Okay, good. And also, when it comes to children of age, smoothies, if they, feel like something that's sweet and cold, having, kale or spinach in the smoothies. Have you all had smoothies with kale or spinach in them? You can't really taste it, or it is a cute little green color, right? But you really can't taste the kale and the spinach in the smoothies if you're adding other things like the blueberries, which are also high in the vitamin K, right? Or not high, but actually good sources of vitamin K. If you're adding other types of plant-based foods, you can kind of mask that type of, flavor of the spinach or kale like that. So I say, speaking of smoothies, let's have some chocolate. Chocolate is so good for, I've seen so much, who doesn't like chocolate? Right? We can easily go overboard though when it comes to chocolate. I have chocolate I did a lot of research on this as well when it comes to different types of conditions, everything from heart disease to risk of type 2 diabetes to high blood cholesterol to proper cognitive function. Chocolate is where it's at. Chocolate, even when it comes to our children, is a good thing. I'm not talking about not so much with the Snickers and the Milky Way with all that extra but when it comes to chocolate, especially dark chocolate, it has another type of phytochemical in them called polyphenols, or these flavonols. Now, those of us who consume red wine, we've heard about the heart benefits of red wine, have we not? It's the same properties in the red wine that's actually in the dark chocolate. But when it comes to our children, though, the chocolate has some of these vitamins and these minerals that can really help with immunity and proper bone health. So this is a little recipe there when it comes to the smoothies. There's a reason for each of these foods. The kale for the vitamin K. And vitamin A too, because it has beta carotene in it. The apples for some it has a little bit of vitamin E in it, and also when it has fiber. Coconut milk, these medium chain length triglycerides for easy absorption. The blueberries, high in vitamin K. The cocoa powder, I'm gonna tell you all what that's high in. Flaxseed oil, again, these MCTs, and also necessary for more calories. In the honey for the antioxidant properties. So chocolate, just really quickly, I think I already talked about that, but just letting you all know, this is what these cacao pods look like. They're huge. I don't know if you all seen them. They're like this big or so. This is actually, the chocolate is actually the seed or the bean inside of this big fruit. And when it comes to, this is the fruit right here. I'm sorry, picture. The fruit that has actually been dried. And this white, I don't know, you all know what this white substance is down here? Is cocoa butter. So when it comes to cocoa butter, it's actually in this fruit as well. The cocoa butter is something that we want to stay away from. Sorry, I think about my other patients that have, there are children here with Alagille. This is not a bad thing when it comes to the cocoa butter. It's not. It's okay. It's medium chain length type of fatty acid, the cocoa butter. Medium to long chain type of thing. So that's not a problem. When it comes to the chocolate as well, these are the beans that have been dried and ground. So you all have seen the Hershey's cocoa powder, like when you bake and everything. That's exactly what this is. And if you put a little bit of this, personally, this is what I try to do. In my, even in the morning, if I'm having oatmeal in the morning, I'll put maybe a teaspoon of cocoa powder in it, the unsweetened cocoa powder in it, so I can get my, see in the bottom, magnesium and calcium, selenium in the copper. When it comes to your smoothies, add about a teaspoon of the cocoa powder. When it comes to, you can actually use, even in savory dishes, you can add a little bit of cocoa. And those of us who like chili, let's say chili con carne with meat, if you add, this is how my dad makes chili. He actually puts in Nestle's chocolate chips in them. You get that chocolate in there. It has a different depth of flavor and everything, but you still get some benefits when it comes to that dark chocolate. But chocolate, just to reiterate, has those antioxidant-like properties, helps prevent damage from free radicals, like we were talking about before, helps to lower blood pressure, decrease the inflammation. This is really good. There's a lot of studies out here when it comes to the benefits of dark chocolate and cognitive function of any age. I'm talking about when it comes to memory and when it comes to paying attention. So for children, school-age children, all the way up to seniors, this is a benefit. There's just a little bit of science here. So when it comes to blood, in blood we have, the liquid part of blood is plasma, and then the solid parts of blood, we have white blood cells and red blood cells, right? You've seen what red blood cells look like from high school biology, whatever. These discs that look like donuts but without the holes, right? So let's say if my palm is like a red blood cell, okay? So it has a little indentation. I guess it's concave here. When it comes to red blood cells, based on some of our genetics, some of our red blood cells stick too easily together for each other. they adhere, or rather cohere together very easily. What do you think that can increase the risk of? Sticky blood, or I should say this, sticky blood. What do you think that can increase the risk of? Heart disease. Very good. And in what way? Thank you so much. Excellent. Very good. Clotting. Very good. Sometimes we can't help it. Sometimes we can when it comes to the diet. A lot of these unfavorable types of dietary fats, like the saturated fatty acids and the trans fatty acids, right? But when it comes to diet, and especially when it comes to the properties in the dark chocolate, they make the red blood cells not as sticky. They don't adhere or cohere to each other as readily. What can that increase the risk of? Not risk of. What can that increase the benefit of? More fluid blood. Blood carries oxygen. If you're having more fluid blood all throughout your body, it's carrying oxygen at higher rates and more frequently to the brain. It's carrying oxygen more frequently to the heart type of thing. So it can decrease risk of the heart disease, and even when it comes to something like stroke. Bone health, magnesium, calcium. Again, the selenium has the antioxidant properties as well as copper. So when it comes to getting more dietary advice, I gave this slide to Bill, so I don't know if everybody here can get a copy of it. Oh, good. Okay. Nice. Very nice. So here's a website which is really I'm sorry, when it comes to different hospitals, usually a lot of hospitals have these wellness programs and community programs that they offer to individuals in the community when it comes to, proper diet, or let's say this, dietary choices when it comes to nutrition and health. If you start there at your local hospital, when it comes to these wellness centers, I think that's a really good source when it comes to getting more information, as well as when it comes to A&D. Now, I'm a member of this Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. This is another excellent source. You can just go online to this website that I have here, find and register a dietitian, nutritionist, and a whole cadre of lists of dietitians and practitioners come up that can help give you more information related to nutrition and diet. Any questions? It's not a self-portrait, but any questions? Well, thank you all so much. Oh, please.
Our son, he's 15 months.
Yeah.
And we give him vitamins, and now he started to take foods. He has an NG tube, but
Okay.
we're wean him from that.
Okay.
Any thoughts on ways to mix that so he takes it since they taste awful and smell awful?
The vitamins.
We don't take the clear, like the
Vitamin D and vitamin E, they're kind of thick and all.
They're kind of thick. It's those the supplements, right? And they're liquid, are they?
Liquid.
The liquid.
Yeah, liquid form being
Are they in the capsule pills, or is it regular? Because the ones that I'm aware of, I didn't know they have an odor. Is it very strong, pungent odor?
It's not. It's just so look like
It's thick.
oil. Yeah.
Yeah,
he
it's
just
just
won't-
thick.
He just takes it and sputs it.
And then he takes ADEX, which has
I've got that down.
Yeah.
It seems like the consistency he may not be used to. So does he like ice cream?
I've tried. Yeah. Well, he's struggling to eat.
So-
altogether, so
right.
To get him, we're trying to get him off the feeding tube.
Right.
Even.
So the only thing I'm just trying to ask him questions, if you could tell me what types of foods does he usually eat? Yogurt, applesauce, spaghetti sauce. Right. Have you all mixed that in when it comes to the foods?
Kind of, yeah. It's just that he has to take so much of it. That's where, he has to take so much of it every day.
Then I would do it in increments. Instead of how much do you usually give him in one serving when it comes to the vitamin D?
4 mLs of each.
If you could maybe start decreasing it, let's say 1 ml when it comes to and also by half decrease that serving size of the food. He's probably, if he's used to getting, like, let's say a cup or a half a cup of the yogurt or the spaghetti sauce, he probably would recognize that, well, I need a little bit more going on here. If you put the 1 ml in that half of the serving size, I think if you give it to him, like literally baby steps type of thing, I think it'll be a little bit better and easier for him to take it, because it's going to change the consistency of the yogurt and the spaghetti sauce and applesauce, maybe, that type of thing. I think that'll be really good if you do that. If you Also, when it comes to for sweet like foods like the yogurt, is it flavored yogurt or is it just regular,
It's just this yogurt.
just plain yogurt?
Yeah, it's blueberry and strawberry.
Okay, well, you can add a little bit of honey along with that. I think, let's see if the sweet trumps the texture. If you make it a little bit more sweeter, it might be a little bit more palatable for him, and he might want to just gobble it type of thing. So when it comes to that, make it a little bit sweeter when it comes to the sweet, types of foods. I think that it might work. I think it might be a really good alternative when it comes to putting it all in one serving of food.
I guess I would have a question.
Yeah.
For James, though, too, in terms of, is even though son is, is he seen by occupational therapists?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
we're
going through
just-
speech
yeah.
therapy now.
Okay, so, and have they noticed anything in terms of sometimes the musculature, sometimes it's not, I mean, only speaking as a parent that
No,
has a
yeah.
daughter that has Alagille, and, she definitely had texture issues.
Totally
He's
texture.
textured.
And so that coupled with, I think, trying to use some of her techniques and trying to work with your therapist in terms of things that will help you to really stimulate him to get used to texture, because I know that is one of the challenges when you're trying to wean a child off of NG2 feeding. Yeah, sometimes it can be quite challenging, and it's quite a process. So, I have friends that, so, try to see if you can work with your therapist in conjunction with some of the things that she suggested, and you might have some success.
I like that. Very nice. Thank you. Any other questions?
I do have another one.
Please.
When you're saying like add some higher calorie stuff, like you're talking flaxseed or
Yeah.
sweetener,
Right.
is there a level where, hey, that's too high calorie or too sweet that it's gonna kind of
That's
throw
a really
everything
good-
off?
That's a really, really good question. Because when it comes to sweeteners, they're all not created equally either. So have you all heard of agave nectar? You heard that? It acts differently in the body because it's high in fructose. Fructose is the natural sugar that's in fruit. Different from table sugar, which is going to, once it's broken down, it's going to be high in glucose type of thing. So it depends on, really, we can't see the differences when it comes to sweet is sweet. And the same thing when it comes to the baby. But when it comes to, the jury is still out when it comes to effect of fructose in the body. Like when it comes to adults, there are studies out here when it comes to fructose and belly fat. When it comes to glucose and increasing that glycemic, you all heard about the glycemic index. When it comes to increasing that glycemic or the glucose in the blood, they act differently. When it comes to the children, that's not something you have to worry about now. Too much, I mean, we wouldn't want to dump like a half a cup of the agave nectar in there. I mean, I would say if you're, it's hard to say. It
Maybe
really
not so
is.
much quantity, but like, okay,
Yeah.
if we're trying to make something he likes it,
Yeah. Okay.
eats it for 7 days straight,
Right.
putting that in, is that going to have an accumulative effect?
It's just going to accumulate when it comes. Let's say when it comes to calories, and that's a good thing. That's what you need. I would say when it comes to this adding these sweeteners, another thing you have to watch out for is the teeth, because when it comes to increasing the sugar intake for calories, it can have a problem when you start seeing brown spots on the teeth. There's a problem when it comes to wearing down in the enamel, and dental health is very much coincides when it comes to proper nutrition. Too much actually fluoride when it comes to, if you want to keep brushing the teeth amongst children, too much fluoride can actually lead to these brown spots on the teeth as well. I would just say be careful when it comes to the saliva, and when it comes to all the sugar building up in the mouth, if you're going to have like the yogurt and the applesauce, by adding the sweetener in it to make it more palatable. That's what I would say be aware of. When it comes to the quantity, I don't really know when it comes to how much is too much. I would say, what's the purpose of you putting the sweetener in the food? If the purpose is to increase the calories, that's the mindset that I would be taking type of thing. I would also still try to work on increasing those calories with those liquid. I think when it came to your wife, you said the flaxseed oil, adding that to it. The flaxseed oil, that type, is actually really liquidy. So it is a lot different from what it seems like you're describing of that liquid vitamin D. So if you're adding that it pours like water. So if you're adding that to the food along with the vitamin D, it's going to counter affect those types of textures. And then if you add a little bit of the sugar to it, or the agave nectar, or or honey. I like the honey because of the flavor, and also when it comes to the antioxidant properties in them, that might be a good choice as well. Any other questions? No, thank you though. That's
Lisa,
good.
thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Patty. I really appreciate all of your attention here. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.